Namaskar and a very warm welcome to all of our viewers on Facebook Live. My name is Radha Malik and I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and I've been doing spiritual practice with SSRF for the past 8 years. We are very fortunate today to be joined with His Holiness Cyriaque Vallee. So His Holiness Cyriaque, he's originally from France, and he's been doing spiritual practice with SSRF for the past 18 years. And actually by profession, he was a very successful fashion model. But now he's moved here to the SSRF Research Center in Ashram with his family, with his wife, Her Holiness Cyriaque Vallee, who's also a saint, and their daughter Anastasia. So his life is fully dedicated to the spread of spirituality and serving God, and he's currently looking after all of the activities of SSRF and also the Maharishi University of Spirituality. So a very warm welcome and much gratitude for joining us here today. I think many of our viewers were waiting for this webinar to be able to hear about your spiritual journey. So we'll first listen to His Holiness Cyriaque share from childhood till now, reaching sainthood, how he started his spiritual practice, the different experiences he had. And then towards the end of the webinar, we will be able to take up your questions for him. So should we start from the beginning? So actually, since a very young age, like since childhood, you were always interested in God. And I think you were even asking your mother a lot, like who is God, and different questions about spirituality.
Yes, actually my mom told me when I was around 7 years old, I was asking many questions. Like I was asking her why I'm born, what is the purpose. And then also I used to live in Bretagne at that time, in France, and we had a field with some trees, and I used to climb on top of the tree and say, I'm with God. So, and I remember also I had some different type of experience, but at that time I was thinking of the purpose of life. At that age I remember I had no thoughts in mind, some time of a blank state and also some joy from inside. At that time I was small, I could not remember 7, 8 years old, but that experience, it touched me. I remember the experience. And as well also I think when I was 12, 13 years, I used to be in a college for Jesuit. So we had to go to the church almost like twice a day or like twice a week, sorry. And I remember one afternoon I experienced, I think at that time it was probably bliss, because it was such a strong experience from within that I felt when I went home after in the evening, I didn't feel anything, I didn't feel to it basically for a few hours. Even my mother asked me, and I was just engrossed in that calmness and that joy. So I felt from young age, I felt there is something much more different that I'm experiencing, and what I'm going to school, what I'm learning in school and what I'm experiencing, I felt there is something I'm not able to understand, that there is something different.
Yes. And actually, you come from a Christian background, but early on you were still believing in past lives and reincarnation. And I think when you were a teenager, you even contemplated maybe becoming a monk and going to Tibet, and also this inner pull to go to India.
Yeah.
So can you share more about your teenage years?
I think when I was around 14, 15 years old, I think at that time I was wondering why with some people we have interaction and some people we don't have interaction. Some people we feel close to them or we feel attracted to them. Some people we just see them but we never speak with them. So that make me wonder why this happened, and I started to believe in that in past life. And then I will play some game, like a teenager, I will play games that when I will meet somebody, I will try and speak to that person, who that person was in past births. So that was my type of games I was doing. Yes. And then I think around 17, 18 years, I was attracted to Buddhism. I wanted to go to Tibet and become a monk. And then I was also attracted to India. I was not knowing, I was searching for something that was pulling me from inside. Some thought came to mind that I have to go there. When I don't know. but something I have to find to learn, and I want to go there. That was some driving thoughts in my mind coming.
Very nice. So, actually, you were a very successful fashion model for 7 years, and many people would say that the whole fashion industry and that whole world is maybe more geared towards increasing the ego, or so far away from spirituality. But even through that, you still maintain some connection or some interest in spirituality.
Yeah.
So how was that possible?
Actually, I started modeling at the age of 23. Then I traveled in many countries. So I met people from different country and religion also. But I was always, how to say, trying to meet with friends that were interested in spirituality. So by type I was most quiet. But when I will talk, I will speak only on the concept of spirituality. Even though at that time, or to say, as compared to when I was younger, it was a time where it was, at that time, that connection to God I felt was less. But even though I felt like something later will come.
Yes. Now, the next question I want to ask, which is my favorite story to hear each time, is how you met your wife, Her Holiness Yoya.
Actually, I met Yoya in Tokyo in 1998 in Japan. So we were doing some modeling contract, because in Japan you have some contracts. So I think she was working for one agency. So we were at the same time in Japan. Even though Tokyo is a big city, but for modeling we all meet at some similar place. So one night I went to one place, and then I saw one girl looking at me. Then I was wondering, because I could see she went through me. Like by looking at her, I felt like she went inside me. So at that time I got puzzled. I said, I must speak to that girl to see what it is. So I started to go and speak to her, and I started, to speak in her ears. And then she looked at me and said, "Oh, sorry, I can't hear. I'm deaf." So I said, "Oh, that's it. That must be something." Because I believe that there is something much more important. Like even Beethoven was, how to say, he was almost deaf, and he was one of the best composers. And he said, "I would like to be deaf fully, so I could hear music better." So when I met Yoya on that day, we started to speak about spirituality only. And after 2 to 3 days, I think we met, I can't remember, I think 2 days or so, we met in Japan in some park to draw, because Yoya is an artist and I used to draw also. And then we went to a park, and then what happened, I saw at that time divine energy, like exactly like in Yoya's drawing, divine energy going around her, like she was dancing, and I could see like shining. So at that time it was the first time I saw, and I was quite intrigued, because I felt it is there is something special. Then also one game we did is in the park, we were going in like maybe 4, 5, 6 meter distance, and then closing eyes and trying to find her with the vibration or the energy. So it was, how to say, the first meeting, we can say.
And so nice. And it was actually through Her Holiness Yoya who introduced you to spiritual practice?
Yes, actually, same in Tokyo at that time. It was in April '98. So I think at that time she flew back to USA, and I go back to Milano. And after approximately 6 to 8 months, then she basically she called me and said, I'm in Milano now. So it was one of my first spiritual experience, that I was taking shower in morning, and then basically I was just taking shower. I will sing some pop song, because this is only what I know. And then suddenly a voice came out of me and repeat 3 times, "Hail Mary, Hail Mary." So at that time I really froze, because I also got goosebumps at that time, and I really froze, because I felt that is not my voice only. Then I forgot about. I went to my different appointment, and then when I went back, actually I met her in afternoon, and in evening we went to the place where Yoya and her mom were staying. And at that time they told me that SSRF, like basically the first step is chanting. So at that time when she told me that, I had some type of spiritual emotion and connecting the dot also, that actually that anubhuti in morning, and from that time my chanting started automatically.
Yes, so anubhuti means spiritual
experience. Yeah.
Very nice. But actually early on in your spiritual practice you also came to understand or learn that you had something called ancestral problems. So for those of you that are not familiar with ancestral problems, many of us can actually be under the spiritual distress due to our departed ancestors, due to not us doing enough rituals for them or any spiritual practice for them when they move on, and they themselves when they were living not doing enough at the time of death. So you can read more about it on our website, but if His Holiness Cyriaque can share about your experience, how you came to know or understand.
So actually that the beginning is quite interesting, because at that time it was in Milano. So I was with Yoya, so I invited my future mother-in-law to a restaurant, to eat Italian restaurant. So actually you have to behave properly at that time, you have to behave yourself. So we were sitting on a restaurant on the round table. So I think Draganaji was sitting on this side, and at that time she could feel like prickle sensation coming from me, like prickle sensation. So she just raised her hand above like that, and I got so angry, consumed with so much anger, that I just left. I left the table and I just basically went into the bathroom of the restaurant to control my anger. And even at that time I was also confused what is happening, because I saw this is not normal. So when I came back, I sat back to the table, and they were wondering, you know, he just stormed out and come back. So at that time I told like what happened. I got consumed with lot of anger when you did that. So I think some day passed and I had to go to Africa for some work, and when I came back, I think in meantime, I think Draganaji called one seeker, Sharon, who was at that time speaking to Parampuja, and then they told me that I have severe case of ancestors. So when I came back at that time, I met Yoya. I went to their place in the night, and that experience is when at that time she told me, you have severe case of ancestor. At that time could not understand, like I could not, because I never heard about it. So but even though what was interesting, I remember like I felt from inside the urge to repeat the chant and some understanding, even though I felt my intellect was shut down. I don't know what to say, like there were no doubt in mind like why, and I just that concept was foreign, but there were an inner feeling to do it. So at that time I asked her, can you please write on a piece of paper Shri Gurudev Datta, because I could not even repeat it.
Yes.
So she wrote on a piece of paper, and I excused myself, sorry, I want to go to bathroom, because the urge was strong.
Yes.
So I went to bathroom at that time, and then at that time I prayed to God. I didn't believe in anything, only that God is on the sky or unmanifest. So I prayed to God and I say, now God, you help me, because I don't know, I don't understand anything. And then my chanting, the chanting of Sri Gurudev Datta started to happen on the heart chakra. And like he was turning and going very fast. Then actually after I went home, and I could experience, and in a way connect the dot with between the different obstacles I used to face. Like basically I would smoke 1 pack of cigarette per day. Sometime I would smoke, if I would go to party, I would smoke 2 packs of cigarettes. Or sometime in party I would drink alcohol also. Sometimes some people would get scared of my eyes because they will see lot of angers. Or sometimes I would get lot of negative thoughts about people I will just see on the street.
Right.
So I was wondering all this time that something is not normal, but I'm not able to associate to what it is.
Yes.
So at that time, how to say, all the things make sense to me. And then I could perceive the sensation of the negative energy affecting me. And at that time, I make some resolve came in my mind that I will chant non-stop until that negative energy leave. So at that time, I didn't know anything, and I remember for like 2-3 days non-stop, day night I would just chant non-stop. I would not get sleep also, and I would feel so much things happening around me, some positive, some negative. It was bit, but it was such a strong experience that even at that time I had a roommate, and he was a big guy, like 190, 100 kilo. Then he came back after the 2 days, and when he came, he stepped in the apartment, he got very scared. He said, "Oh, I feel so scared here." And 2-3 days ago he was there.
No problem.
Because I think at that time there were probably a lot of things coming out or negative energy. And after these 2-3 days, I felt at one point that negative energy leaving me. And then I wanted to try to smoke. I wanted to smoke. And then at that time I could not smoke. I tried 2-3 puffs, is it?
Like inhaling.
Inhaling. And then I could not, then I stopped smoking. So this was quite, how to say, striking experience. Because at that time there were no SSRF website, it was new. There were no article of ancestors, there were no photo of data also. But even though this was, I experienced that energy or that principle of data energy in Milan, and how much it just cured me in such a short time.
It's amazing. And I think many of our viewers, some of you may have also been struggling with or like have similar experiences to His Holiness Cyriaque. So also if any of you have been trying the Datta chant and want to share your experiences with His Holiness Cyriaque, you can also write in the comments and we can take them later. Okay. So then you also decided to get married with Yoya, and you decided to get married in India. So if you can share more about that.
Actually, we went back to Japan at that time together, and we were feeling like we should get married, and actually we wanted to go to India also for the first time. So we felt like we would like to get married in a Vedic way. So Vedic way is the old way of how in India you get married. It is basically a spiritual way of marriage, when husband and wife together is a progress to God. So actually we went to India the first time. It was in December 1999, and we got married in India.
And that time you also met His Holiness Dr. Vallee for the first time also?
Yeah, actually yes, it was also the first time I met Param Puja Dr. Vallee. It was actually a very big experience for me.
His Holiness Cyriaque is experiencing spiritual emotion.
Actually, when I went to meet him, actually we meet him on 24 evening when we came to Goa for a short time. But the experience I had is when I went first time on 25th December, I bowed to his feet. So at that time I was shaking because there was so much energy. And then he put his hand on my back and said, "I give you new life." And at that moment all become like white. And it was so much energy that I lost sight also, and consciousness. So even one seeker had to come and escort me outside and make me walk, because I lost sense of everything.
It's amazing. So then after marriage, you all moved back to France. You stopped modeling and took up a regular job. But at that time, Yoya was also starting to experience more distress from negative energies, and anesthesia was also very small at that time. So I think often you were working like the full day at work, then you would come home and have to handle Yoya and distress and anesthesia. So how did you manage all those years? with all of that going on?
Actually, this was a lot of learning, we can say lot of spiritual practice, but in how to say, through practical situations. At that time, I stopped modeling because Yoya was working in France, and it was, if I will be modeling, I will be traveling. So I decided to stay in France, and I started to work as a commercial. And then also Yoya's distress started to manifest. So sometimes it will be like a bit challenging because when manifestation come out. But at that time actually many experience came how God is more powerful than negative energy. And now sometimes just everything will stop within short time when praying to God or to Parampuja. So actually at that time it was many experience that God is everywhere. And Anastasia also was small, she was like 1 year, 2 years, so sometime Yoya, because of her distress, she will have no energy at all. So I will have to take care of Anastasia also. But also God gave me energy, and through work, how to say, my intention was just that I want to progress spiritually. So there were that I realized that every actions or every sign I would always try to make how I can progress, even though it was work at home with Anastasia or at with handling the distress, how I can overcome defect in me, ego in me, how can I develop quality. So that was my, how to say, driving force, even though at that time concretely I could not do, we can say, French translations, but I will basically try to correct myself in all the situations.
It's really inspiring to hear. And then eventually you all decided to like pack up and move from France to a place where more seekers were?
Yeah, actually it was in 2000, because I was working full-time job, so I could not do so much seva. So at that time, to be able to have desire to increase my spiritual practice. So at that time, I was thinking how I can find a smaller job. So we moved from Paris at that time to a city around 100 kilometers from Paris, and I took a half job. And we moved from a big truck of 22-meter cube. And we stayed there for a few months. Then after I had a thought like maybe in Serbia at that time there were many seekers, and I was thinking also I may try to work there. So in a way we sold many things, sofa, fridge, everything you could sell, and we put everything in one car. And then we drove 2,000 kilometers, and we stayed in Serbia almost for 1 year, I think. So at that time I was able to increase much more spiritual practice, like spiritual remedies and working on personality defect, as well as doing around 3 to 4 hours of 5 hours of seva per day. Wow. This was in 2008.
And then shortly after, you all decided with your family to move here to the SSRF Research Center in Ashram. And I think I read in the article with only 3 suitcases, you all came here. But here in India, it's a completely different culture. There's a different language, different food, and all of that. But how did you all manage to come here and now stay here for many years?
Yeah. So actually we moved in 2009. Actually from the car, that whatever we had we gave to things to some seekers, and then we put all in 3 suitcases, how much we could put in 3 suitcases and come to India. And yeah, actually in beginning it was not that easy because everything is new. It is not like a Saturday, Sunday, you go home and do what you want. Here in Ashram, it is all the time. And then you have your room where we stand, but all the other part you share with seekers. So you have to adjust, like from home, you have you feel you have your privacy. But actually in ashram, that privacy is less. So in beginning it took time, that capacity also of doing many hours of seva. At that time I could do 6 hours, 7 hours of seva per day. So sometimes there were, that every day at that time I could see that sometimes that enthusiasm was more, enthusiasm was less.
Yes.
But slowly, I think because of Param Puja only, we were able to adjust.
That's really nice. And many would say that it was such a big sacrifice to be able to come here. But did you feel that way?
I don't feel it is like a sacrifice because I felt the process happen smoothly. And how to say, like, because what we felt behind, how to say, what I felt behind, I feel I've left nothing behind. I only, because what I'm gaining is far superior of what I've left behind. Even though it may look at I've left behind family or country, work, savings, and moving with a small girl of 4 years old. But actually what I experience, or it's much far superior to what you feel you have left. So in a way you feel this is not sacrifice. Just to share one experience, why that, how that phase developed, or that it was in, I can't remember, I think 2007 or 8, because I was working in Paris. So I was going around many big shops around Paris. So at that time I used to drive around 100 to 200 kilometers per day. And one day I had one strong experience. Sometime in Paris you go under some tunnels. And it is like just one way side. So I was going like around 70 to 80 kilometers speed, and suddenly my chanting started. Because I was busy, in my thoughts of my next meeting. So I was preparing and I was focusing on driving, and suddenly the chanting started very strongly. So I was puzzled, say what happened, because even as it just started on his own. So I started to feel a little bit calmer, and then after maybe half a minute or so, I see I was driving, so where you sit, I saw Param Puja sitting.
Wow.
For like 2 seconds, but I saw him as I see you, as gross. So it was so striking that just for 2 seconds, I saw Param Puja, and suddenly I felt very, very calm. Like, I could even feel how the calmness, how I felt so calm. And maybe 5-10 seconds after, a man jumped on my car. So it was like at 80 kilometers speed in a small tunnel, and I was so calm at that time that I had no movement. So any movement I would have had an accident. And here you can't, it is fatal in such small in such small tunnel. And I was so calm that even I looked back after, and I saw that person was standing on the middle of the road and continued walking. So I was not knowing like whether it was a person in drugs or something jump. But actually it was such an experience that how God or Param Puja take care of seeker, because just suddenly God protect me, like just suddenly, and then I saw Param Puja sitting in the car.
So with those experiences and that faith, that allowed you and your family to just jump.
Yeah, because all those, in the course of all those years, many spiritual experience came. That feeling like, that fear, that worry. Of course, there were a feeling now when you move, you left everything. Yeah. It is normal, there was some little bit of worry, what will happen. But that feeling of faith, or that God will take care, that all those experience build those, that we were able to make those steps.
Very nice. And then after moving to the ashram, within a short time you also reached the spiritual level of 60%. So that's when one overcomes the cycle of birth and death. So if you can share, what efforts did you make so that you could reach that spiritual level?
Actually what I did, I was doing, I've tried to get more engrossed in seva, to do more and more seva. and whatever I will do, I will try to do it like wholeheartedly. And of course increasing like personality defect, ego removal. And actually I had one experience. It's suddenly like one day some surge of energy started to come, and really how to say, I would get up at 5:30 in the morning, then I would just do seva. Because in the beginning it was difficult for me to, the seekers who knows me for many years, I could not sit in front of computer for more than 1 hour. So at that time I would sit from morning and I would just do seva, and then I would get thoughts to go against my mind. So whatever thoughts I will do, I will go against my mind. So continuously throughout the day. And then let's say at night it was like midnight, or I would say I have to write mistakes now. Then a thought tell me, no, Cyriaque, now you're tired, no? Better you go to sleep. Then another thought come and say, no, listen how you feel. Do you feel tired or not? Then I will check and I see that I'm not tired. I feel fresh. Then I will listen to that thought and do. So like that it happened for 2-3 months, where non-stop there were a force behind me that was pushing me to go against my mind, and I would sleep 5 hours, 6 hours only, sometimes less. And after 2-3 months, and Parampuja says that we reached 62%. Then I went to meet him after, and then I said, but Parampuja, there was something pushing me from behind. Yes. Some force that it doesn't belong to me. So he just looked at me and he was smiling only. Even after that, that force left me, that energy behind that, because even if I'm trying to do it, I think I will not be able to do only.
That's really inspiring. Now, there's one quote that we really like, we wanted to share. That there's a saying in spirituality that real spiritual progress happens through sacrificing one's mind, body, intellect, wealth, and ultimately everything unto the Guru's holy feet. So your life is an example of this sacrifice and obedience to the Guru. And especially through Sat Seva, or service to the truth, this was where you could offer your mind and intellect to God. And I remember in 2011 was when I met you, and I saw that transformation, like how you were spending, like in where we sit to do seva, you would be there for the whole day, and always like offering help to all seekers like that. So was there something you experienced through Sat Seva that enabled you to, for so many hours the whole day, to be engrossed in it?
So actually before, when I started, I would sit for seva, I would feel restless. How to feel for so long, and it become opposite. When I don't sit for seva, then I become restless. Because in seva I feel so calm, how to say, I always feel that bliss from inside. So even, actually I had to make some effort also. I had to make effort to increase the number of hours. So in beginning it was like, at one point like 5 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. But after, how to say, you start experiencing joy from seva. So actually every time I'm happy to sit on seva because I feel calm and I enjoy the bliss from seva.
Very nice. And so I think I speak on behalf of many seekers that since I've known you all these years, I always felt like sometimes that I felt you're like my brother, or that you're like my father. Others feel that you're their best friend. And it's so easy to speak to you. And whenever we have some problem or some difficulty, like we feel we can come to you and we'll get help, or we'll get the guidance. So how did you develop those qualities that all seekers feel this way about you?
Actually, I was probably lucky. My mother taught me some good way. Like she was saying that the happiness of others is more important than our own happiness. So always looking for others, how to help others. So actually from young age she trained me in that way. And of course I like also to see others happy, because sometimes when you see others happy, it gives much more joy than by self-joy only.
That's so nice. And then from the spiritual level of 60% to 70%, it's actually not an easy path. But are there any specific efforts that you made during that period to be able to attain 70%, which is the level of a saint?
I think same basically. I will just do whatever I can do, whatever I can correct myself in situations, or overcoming defect of personality. Like I had basically some shyness or insecurity. So I will take every situation as an opportunity to correct myself. And whatever seva I will try to do it like wholeheartedly. No thinking why and what will happen, or you just keep on doing. And I think because I realized at one point this is not possible, and only because of Param Puja Dr. Atavuli it happened only.
That's really amazing. So actually, while we were speaking, many of your questions were coming. So is it okay? We'll take some questions from our viewers. Okay. So Rakshit Bhatia is asking that, isn't anger a product of our current life's frustration, or is it from our past life?
What is his name?
Rakshit.
Rakshit. Namaskar Rakshit. Actually from about anger, no? Whether
yes.
Anger is basically, see, in this birth we have defect, and we have also from past birth also. So whether it is from past birth or this birth, ultimately it affects us. So we have to work on it to overcome the anger. He's asking whether it is past birth then?
Yeah, is it from our current life, or is it from our past life, the anger that we have? Yeah, so I think you answered. And we have a question from Damien. Can you explain the ego in your own words and how to overcome it?
Ego?
Ego, from Damien.
Is from where?
I'm not sure the location, but his name is Damien.
Namaskar, Damien. So ego is everything, so it is difficult to define ego. Ultimately, we have to do spiritual practice only. We can't understand ego, we can't understand ourselves. It's just we have to keep doing chanting, seva, PDR, removing personality defect, working on removing ego.
Then we have Sina is asking, what is the fastest way to attain sainthood, and then to have a Paratpar Guru? So a Paratpar Guru is a saint at this higher than this 90% spiritual level, and they ask how many years does it last?
So it's from Tina.
From Sina.
Sina.
So what's the fastest way to attain sainthood, and then how to reach a Paratpar Guru?
Namaskar, Sina. Basically, see, there is no. First, we have to make spiritual practice, no? First, we have to make spiritual practice, and goes from 40 to 50, 50 to 60, and 60 to 70. Ultimately, we have to offer everything to God, body, mind, intellect. Then it is possible to go fast towards God. And Paratpar Guru is Paratpar Guru, Dr. Atavuli, is guiding all the seekers. So it is not like we have to become 70% to get Paratpar Guru. More important is to get Guru's grace. So that is what is more important, because when we get Guru's grace, then spiritual progress happens very fast. But for that we have to do a lot of effort. We have to keep on increasing our spiritual practice only.
So the next question is from Leah. She is asking, how long does it take to be released from ghosts that are inside?
Leah. Namaskar, Leah. See, negative energy affects us. So it depends. It depends on few factors. One basically depends on the level of the entity who is affecting. So it can, if it is a lower negative energy, if it is an ancestors, then it goes easily. But if it is a higher negative energy, it takes more time. So that is one factor. Another factor is depending if how much spiritual practice we do. See, if we do little bit of spiritual practice, then it can take very, very, very long time for any negative energy to go. But those who do sincere spiritual practice, then negative energy can go fast. So basically it is in our hand.
Yes. So the next question is from Rajashri. He's asking, you were mentioning about your satsevas or service. Can you let us know what are the different types of sevas that you did and what you are doing now?
Ojeshri.
Rajashri.
Oh, Rajeshri, okay. Namaskar. Actually, I did many sevas. When I was in Serbia, I used to drive seekers. Then I used to look after the stock also of product. Then I started to look after photo. When I came to Ashram, I used to do some video also, looking after photo, like deleting different photo. I used to clean bathroom also in Ashram. I used to clean utensils also for some time. Then I used to do French translations. Then looking after how to say all the languages. So I did a mix of different sevas. Actually, and all seva are one in the same. There is no seva better. Means more important is to do seva and to learn that seva is the way to change ourselves.
So the next question is from Leah. Do you think living in the ashram will be everyone's spiritual progress?
For everybody. Her name is Leah.
Leah.
Namaskar, Leah. See, everybody is different. We have many seekers in SSRF who live abroad, who live at home, they are at home, and they have progress also. So it is not like that because of staying in ashram. Of course, being in ashram is conducive. It's more easy. But some seekers have made very good progress also at home.
So the next question is from Sachi. So she's asking, do you meditate, and how much should we start and with, and then how much to increase?
Sachi.
Yeah.
Namaskar, Sachi. So basically I do chanting. I sat almost 2 hours per day and do chanting. And before I used to do much more. I used to sit for 3-4 hours and chant Sri Gurudev Datta. So important is sitting in one place with concentration, and after to try to chant throughout the day. So you can chant Sri Gurudev Datta and Kula Devi also.
So the next question is from Nichai. Nichai?
Nichai, okay.
So he's saying good evening to you, and how did you do away with the doubts that you had in your spiritual journey, and how does one build their faith?
Good evening. What is his name again?
Nichai.
Nichai, okay.
Apologies if I'm not pronouncing it properly.
See, like I shared now before, of course I had also thought in mind whether it is a correct path to do, but better I enjoy family, but actually those different spiritual experiences that I had remove those doubt and develop my faith that spiritual practice is the way, and experiencing more and more spiritual emotion and bliss. So this was removing the doubt and giving that conviction and determination to increase spiritual practice.
Nice. So many questions are coming. The next one is from Rishab.
Who?
Rishab.
Rishab.
How do I know if something wrong I've done was because of my destiny or if it was my willful action?
Namaskar. See, it depends. Again, in this time we live, 65% of what happened is because of destiny only, and 35% is because of willful actions. So again, sometimes we will not know whether mainly most of the important event in our life is because of destiny only. But whether sometime an action is willful of destiny, that we may not know. But what we know is spiritual practice can overcome destiny. So again, if you do spiritual practice and whatever things you have done that was not good, whether they were destiny or willful action, ultimately do spiritual practice and it will nullify it.
Very nice. The next question is from Raghavendra. So he's asking if you can tell more about marriage, because he fears that he may end up with a spouse that is not spiritual and may trouble my fate.
His face. We are not doing counseling, no? So again, marriage is one of the most important events in life, no? Being born, marriage, death are destiny only. So again, whether wife or not wife, or whether she will do spiritual practice or not, that is, if you are to be married, it is destiny. So again, same thing. If you do spiritual practice, whether the destiny is favorable or is not favorable. So if you do spiritual practice and whatever happen, you will be able to overcome whatever is to be destiny.
Andrea is asking how to work with detachment.
How to work?
Work with detachment. I think she's asking how to detach.
Namaskar, Andrea. See, detachment is actually what we say higher, we can say experience, where we are able to detach. So that's why first, see, through chanting what happened, our mind become calm. See, maybe you experience now, if something happen, then our mind become agitated. Then if we start chanting, our mind become calm. So if some incident come, we are able to remain stable. So that's why also working on personality defect, because expectations, anger, envy, jealousy, this give us attachment, no? So if we want to have detachment, we have to work on removing personality defect and chanting. Then it able, when you face situation, you are able to remain calm, you are able to remain detached.
So the next question is from Akshay. So he's asking, how do you make the right decision in life when there's more than two options? How do you know if option A is better or option B is better and vice versa?
What type of decision?
He didn't say. He's just how to take
so
decisions.
Like that, no? A or B?
Yes.
Like, see, again, same thing. Whatever, we don't know now which decision we should take. So it is same thing again. That's why whatever is going to happen, so sometimes we don't know what is correct. But if we make spiritual practice, then again, what is supposed to happen as per destiny will happen also. But if we do spiritual practice, we may be sometime to take the correct decision.
Yes. And Lavanita is asking how to do Satseva wholeheartedly. Like, what specific efforts did you make?
Yeah. See, basically what I felt is when you do seva, now you start thinking, some seekers send you an email, or you start thinking, like when you start doing seva, you think about something, you have something in your mind. You think about past, or you think about future, or you feel some situation has happened with your husband, or some situation happened with the seekers. So basically you are not able to basically do the seva like wholeheartedly. Because when we have so many thoughts in our mind, we are not able to concentrate, no? Our mind goes in different direction. So for me, like when I started to try to do more seva, and no expectation also, whether my seva will be good or not good, I just keep on doing only. And to give the best of what I can do. And if it's good, okay. If it is not good, okay also.
So the next question is from James.
Jim.
James.
James.
So he's saying, how do you justify being kind and generous to people who you know are bad and show no desire to change their ways?
Say again.
So, how do you justify being kind and generous to people that you know are bad and show no desire to change themselves?
So you mean like there is some people who are not good, and basically how to be nice to them, and they doesn't want to change themselves. See, it is not like because if somebody is not nice with you, or somebody is mistreating you, it doesn't mean that you have to let it happen, no? So at that time you can students, how to say, you can be just firm to what are the things. And pray to God for God to guide you how to tell them or how to behave with them. Because see, whatever happens, whether they are misbehaving with you, whether it is because of destiny or not, and then you are not able for you to face those situations. But when you start spiritual practice, what happens? You get the thought how to behave, so that person stop misbehaving, or the person doesn't, how to say in English, the word, no, when the person is, when the person stop and understand to
realize.
Basically, the person basically stop misbehaving with you.
Oh, okay.
In English, sorry, I forgot the...
Maybe the French word and someone can... Okay, no problem. So, the next question is from Petra. She's asking, what does God like the most so that we can gain His love?
What God?
What does God like the most so that we can gain His love?
See, God basically, what passport for God is spiritual emotion for God. What is what God loves the most. But when there is love for God, or we have spiritual emotion for God, then God is pleased. We say the passport for God is spiritual emotion.
The next question is from RD. How to find the true path of our life through spiritual practice?
Say again, sorry.
How to find our true path in our life through spiritual practice?
See, basically, path, when we do spiritual practice, is what important is to make progress. So when we make progress, we experience bliss, spiritual emotion. So everybody's path is different. No? There is one principle. There are as many paths to God as there are people. So in a way, what is more important is start practicing spirituality. Then whatever path, if we do chanting, especially if we work on personality defect, then whatever path you follow, you will make progress. Because the aim is what? Is making progress only. And because you make progress, God will guide you in what is actually your path.
Very nice. The next question is from Yigain.
Who? Yigain.
Yigain. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing all of your names. This seeker is asking, can I understand what spiritual level I am? Or how can I understand what spiritual level I'm at?
Okay, and that is a classic question that everybody would like to know, the spiritual level. We have an article on the website that gives some bit of guideline depending on the spiritual experience we have, as well as the amount of spiritual practice we do. So this gives some overall understanding at which level we stand. But again, same thing, see, spiritual level is what is, how much we associate ourselves with God, or we experience God. So it's difficult to understand. Only a saint of higher level, like Param Puja, can tell us. But where you are, it's difficult to know. But again, if you do spiritual practice, again, that inner experience will start of spiritual emotion, bliss. And that is a true spiritual level, experiencing spiritual emotion and bliss. That is the most important.
And another question from Raghavendra. He's saying that it's said in the Vedas and Upanishads that our prarabdha, or accumulated account, must be suffered. We cannot escape it. But you're saying that it can be cleared by spiritual practice. Can you please tell more about it?
Yeah. See, like even if we have destiny, it is in this life, or sanchit prarabdha, it is destiny of all the different lives that we have. And in this birth we only encounter short units of the sanchit prarabdha. But basically if we do spiritual practice, the spiritual practice will nullify the destiny. So in beginning what happened, even many seekers have experience, and when they start spiritual practice, their life start to change for the better. Different situations happen and the destiny start to get nullified. So by spiritual practice only, it clears the destiny. And when destiny becomes less, the person is able to make spiritual progress.
So another question from Nichai.
Nichai.
I have had a lot of spiritual experiences since I came into contact with the SSRF website. Right now, as I'm watching the webinar, I feel heat in the palms of my hands. Can you please explain?
Heat.
He's feeling heat.
Yeah. Because see what happens sometimes, now we are in satsang. So in satsang sometimes there is positive energy and sometimes spiritual remedy happen. So sometimes some seekers they feel heat in palm, some seekers they feel heat in head. So sometimes it depends. So sometimes this is a spiritual remedy happening.
So now we have another question from Geeta. So can our spiritual level fluctuate?
Yeah. The spiritual level fluctuate very easily. Only when a person attains a spiritual level above 90%, then spiritual level doesn't fluctuate. So in a way, spiritual level it's very hard to progress, but very easy to drop, because until unless the defect and ego is uprooted, then we can easily fall down.
Now, Madalena from Romania, she's asking, can an average person feel bhav, or spiritual emotion?
An average person is at 20 spiritual level. They are not interested at God at all. They just want to fulfill their own desires. They don't have any thinking about God. So such person cannot have spiritual emotion for God. Usually spiritual emotion for God can develop slowly at level of 40, or especially at the level of 50% also.
Rishabh, he just wants to share a comment. He said, I feel calm just by listening to you. You made me remember my childhood days when I used to go to the temple daily, and also when I met saints. Now a question from Violet. What can I do with the daily distress I experience in the mind and in my life? So it sounds like this person's experiencing distress on mind level, and in life some distress. So what to do about it?
Yeah. So basically to distress in mind, this may be negative thoughts, or due to that also you may experience some different problem during the day. So at that time, see, you can start chanting, no, Shri Gurudev Datta, like 2 hours per day. You can start trying like salt water, spiritual remedy. You can go on the website. We have a section on many type of spiritual remedy, like boxes, nyas, so that it will help to start increasing spiritual remedy. Will start reducing what you may experience is when you start, it may increase the symptom of, let's say, headache, or let's say negative thought may increase for some time, and after it may subside. So just to say that it's a good sign, not to make that mistake that many people do, is when they basically they start spiritual remedy, they experience an increase in distress. So that actually is a good sign, because the positivity of the chant or the spiritual remedy counteract the negative energy affecting us. So at that time we may experience much more pain or distress. But that it shows that we are on the good way. Then if we persevere, then after some time the distress will become less.
So Hongko is asking how to be free from negative distress and possession if I cannot visit the ashram to receive the Guru's grace. I'm already doing spiritual practice following SSRF.
To overcome negative energy, no?
Yes. Negative energy distress and possession if she can't visit the ashram.
See, like I shared in beginning, no? For me it was in 1999. I was in Milano. I never came to India. I never met Parampuja. I never came to ashram. I never saw a picture of Datta also. Even though I got free from one negative, because I chanted. See, again, remedy is universal, no? So wherever you are, it doesn't mean that you have to come to ashram. But wherever you are, if you start putting into practice, then negative energy affecting you can reduce. Then you are able to make progress, and slowly, slowly, the negative energy will become less.
Yes. So the next question is from Yagain.
What is his name?
Yagain.
Yagain.
Can I do Sat Seva with composing songs to God? Can I sing chanting with divine music that I hear during chanting?
Basically, she does chanting, she hears song. Okay. See, basically you may have some ability to sing, but it cannot be called seva yet. First is more important, see, whatever in spiritual practice we know, we should do, no? Because see, we say, I want to do like because I like singing, that becomes seva. No, because at that time it may not become seva. So you may be having some talent, but it is better first to put in like chanting, then to do personality defect removal, and to see which seva is better for your progress. We have some seeker in ashram also, but basically for many years they did different sevas, and then when the spiritual level increased, they started to do the seva of singing, but singing with spiritual emotion. Then it becomes sat seva, it becomes seva. So that's why even though it is nice you have that ability and you like to sing song or to write a song about God, but see, for your progress, what is more important is to listen to a person that will tell you what is more important for your spiritual progress, because later on then you can do it as a seva to God. So you can, if you want, you can contact some of our seekers, and they will guide you.
Damien is asking, who is God, or what is God?
What is God? See, God is Sat, Chit and Ananda, is absolute truth, absolute knowledge and absolute bliss. That is God. And God cannot be comprehended and understood with intellect. It is to experience, and for that we have to do spiritual practice only.
The next question is from Harsh. So, how much is our spiritual practice affected by the local events in our city, which are negative in nature?
Local event.
So let's say like where he lives, around him, some different negative events are going on.
See, even though depending on where you are, city and country, we have some seeker who live in some difficult country and different city. And even though they are able to make progress, why? Because they made that home as ashram. Ashram means a place where you have positive energy. So at home you can try to see how you can behave as a seeker, how to create that environment to be positive. Then whether outside in the cities there is some negative event, in your home there will be positivity. Then you will be able to do spiritual practice.
Rajashri is saying, I do saltwater remedy every evening after coming from work. I have observed that I feel sleepy during that time. I cannot understand why that happens. Can you kindly explain?
When he does salt water?
When after work he does salt water, but he feels sleepy. So what is happening?
After or during?
I think during.
During, yeah. It can happen. See what happens when spiritual remedy occur. Some seeker, when they do salt water, or some they do chanting, sometimes at that time they may feel sleepy. Why? Because again it is the spiritual remedy is happening. So sometimes the negative energy may try to stop, to concentrate. Or sometimes because of this spiritual remedy happen, the person feels sleepy. Or they fall asleep. But it can be of two types. Huh? What happens is, sometimes the person chant, and some people they fall asleep. But after when they wake up, they feel very fresh. So that maybe it can happen at that time, the person went into meditation state. But if the person feels sleepy and woke up like drowsy, it means that the person fell asleep. At that time it can happen, the negative energy try to obstruct us to do spiritual remedy. So at that time if you feel sleepy, but it's better, because we never know whether it's meditation or not. So it is better at that time you make prayers. Or you can put water on your face also.
Then Pratap is asking, sacrificing food, is that important in spiritual progress?
Sacrificing food. Yeah. See, sacrificing food, it is, we can say, not so important as compared to sacrificing mind, defect, ego. That is much more important. So of course at one point it is good to be careful of what we eat, because it can affect us. But it is more important to do seva, it is more important to do chanting, to do spiritual remedy. You can add also, Radha, if you want to add something.
And Alvaro is asking, how can I increase the enthusiasm of seva when I feel resistance to do set seva?
Yeah. It can happen sometimes for two reasons, like either the resistance to do seva, either because it is of mind or it is because of distress. So at that time it's better to do spiritual remedy before, like before seva. Let's say to do some measures. You can put boxes, you can put incense, and you can chant for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then try to do seva. Then if you feel that you are not able to do seva, then go back to chanting. Because sometimes some seekers experience that they want to do seva, but the moment they want to start, they feel a lot of resistance. So they attempt to start praying also, because sometimes negative energy will try to stop the seeker to do seva.
So Vesna from Croatia, she's asking how important is what we eat for our spiritual practice, because you were just mentioning about food.
Same answer. We can be careful of what we eat, but again more important is about chanting, removing defect of personality.
So Madalena is asking, is it true that a mentally ill person cannot attain the 60% spiritual level?
A mentally ill person?
Yeah. Is it possible that a mentally ill person cannot attain the 60% spiritual level?
That we have some one child, I think, who is literally mentally retarded, but still he has a spiritual level.
Yes. And Sanjay is asking what to chant. What to chant?
So you chant, usually see we have set on the website, you can chant as per your religion of birth, and also to chant Sri Gurudev Datta, because everybody nowadays is affected by ancestors. So to repeat at least 2 hours of Shri Gurudev Datta per day, and the remaining of the day you can chant as per your religion of birth.
Okay, so Petra was saying, I feel at least 3 ancestors that were affecting me have moved forward due to spiritual practice, but I still feel there are more waiting to gain momentum. So what can she do?
See, we don't know whether it may be ancestor or it can be negative energy also affecting us. But what is more important, to keep doing spiritual practice, spiritual remedy. So that is, it's much more important. So that, and trying to develop the other step of like overcoming defect of personality, because negative energy, they use our defect of personality. So to increase the personality defect, attending satsang, doing seva, all this increase the sattva component in us. And automatically, because negative energy are rajatama, so automatically there is no other way by doing the different step of spiritual practice to increase them. So you can see how many hours of spiritual practice you do per day, and to increase it by 1 hour, and after some time by 2 hours. There is no shortcut or miracle, no, in spiritual practice. We have to keep on increasing our time. If we want to merge to God, we have to offer everything to God.
So I think we're coming towards the end of the webinar. So are there any final words or guidance that you want to share with our viewers?
Actually, that all of them have asked like nice questions, and actually the answer is the same that I have experienced, that only doing spiritual practice helped me. Then who I was, how to say, almost 18 years ago, and what I'm experiencing today is 2 different persons. And this is only because of spiritual practice and because of Param Puja Dr. Atavali. So I just said, just put it into practice only, because spirituality is a science of practice. So just utilize your time to keep on increasing the different steps, like chanting, seva, overcoming defect, and especially doing spiritual remedy. And the perseverance is very important, because we can't get spiritual progress only with short time. So to continue and to be persistent in the effort. So I wish all of you spiritual progress, and I'm sure that if you do spiritual practice, you can experience change from inside, and experiencing, all of us seekers who are in ashram, experiencing more and more spiritual emotion, and this is what we are striving every day to do. Get up in morning, do spiritual practice, and experiencing that feeling like more and more.
So much gratitude, I think, on behalf of all of us to you for joining us, and to God for this inspiring webinar. And to all of our viewers, from our SSRF Seeker family, we wish you all the best in your spiritual journey. And any questions that we could not take up, please feel free to write to us either on login on our website, or our team of seekers will also answer you on Facebook. In private messages, you can also write to us any other questions you have. Namaskar.